G'day, here's the board game Marvel United X-Men, and I'm here to tell you all what I think of this game. For starters, Marvel United X-Men is a long title, so I'm just going to call it MUX from now on. Otherwise I'm going to need to drink a bucket of water to get me through this review. This game is by CMON, and it's a follow-on from their game Marvel United. MUX is a cooperative game where you're playing them X-Men heroes, trying to take down a villain. You'll be playing cards from your hand to move around the board, be a hero and rescue people, or punch thugs, henchmen, and the big bad boss. There are 6 locations on the map, each of which have a different threat that you got to do your hero thing to take care of as well. You win when you knock out the big bad end guy, but you lose if anyone runs out of cards. There's other ways to lose too, but let's not go into that. The way it works is that each villain will play a card that does some bad stuff, then the players will get to play cards to go and be big damn heroes, to meet 3 objectives that are the same for each game. Actually, old mate Magento here, he's a Magenta Magneto, so Magento, changes one of those, but for the most part they're the same. Anyway, the objectives are saving 9 people's butts, taking 9 thugs to the cleaners, or clearing 4 locations of threats. To start off with, players will get to have 3 turns between each villain turn. When you complete the first objective, the villain goes Super Saiyan, and you only get 2 turns each time before they act again. When you're done 2 of the objectives, you can start fisticuffs for your boss fight. Until then, the villain's got plot armor, that means you can't hurt him. You get a bonus for doing the 3rd objective, but you don't have to do it. The trick to this game is when you play a card, you get to perform whatever actions are on your card, but you also get to perform the actions of the person who went before you. Your heroes are trying to outdo each other to see who can be the biggest hero, by being a copycat, then doing something different. Some of the cards have a hero-specific superpower that other people don't get to copy, because they're those special show-off moves that no one else can do. Like pulling your undies out of your pants without taking them off, and without giving yourself a wedgie. That's a hero move right there, and it's why so many superheroes wear their undies on the outside. Anyway, now you know roughly how to play, let's talk about why MUX is good. The first good thing about MUX is that you can get pretty much any of your mates to play. If people are new to board games, or there's kids you want to get into the hobby, or even if you're playing with that one mate who couldn't figure out how to get Bloodo at the Borderlo, you're still going to be able to get them to play this game without too much hassle. You can teach someone how to play in a couple of minutes, and the back page of the rulebook pretty much tells you everything you need to know in case someone's chugging their beer down instead of listening to your explanation of how to play. You can also smash through a game pretty quick. I reckon it'll take you around half an hour to get through a game. For the gameplay itself, the way you copy the person who went before you makes you really feel like you're working together as a team, and it can really help out your mates if you play well. But it's not so crazy powerful that anyone should really feel the need to try and ask everyone what their cards are, or tell them the best thing to play. I find that's often a problem in co-op games where you get someone who knows the game best and they're helping everyone else with what they should do. That's why I'm not stoked on Pandemic as a board game. Well that, and I don't want to play a game about a virus running amok while I'm stuck at home because there's a virus running amok. Just makes you want to grab a beer, or 10. The way MUX plays can also feel like, yeah, you're actually doing heroic stuff, albeit pretty simple. You can get knocked down, but you get up again, drink a lager drink, and get back to the biff. When you win, you cheer. When you lose, you're thinking, right, next time gadget, and you're set up for another round, which is right quick to do as well. Each of the heroes you play also feel a little different in terms of their special powers and the way their actions are split up. Some are fancy pants heroic types, others just want to hand out knuckle sandwiches, and some are about helping other characters be more awesome. Even with pretty limited card options, you do get a bit of different vibe from each of them. Doesn't change the game dramatically, but does give you some potential preference for picking different characters. So for your positives, MUX is a quick bit of fun, and you can use your noggin, but you ain't going to feel like your head is an icy pole out on a scorcher in summer. You ain't going to melt your brain playing it. Before I get on to the negatives, I should talk about the components. First off, because it's a CMON game, you got minis. You use these to move around the locations in the game. Now, some people are going to love them, and others are going to hate them. They got that whole anime cutesy big head thing going on. They call it chibi. I don't know why. I thought that was one of them battles in Dynasty Warriors. Anyway, if you like them bobblehead doll things, you're probably going to like these. Me, I could take it or leave it, but it's a stylised look that I reckon fits with the rest of the art, so I'm not going to have a whinge about it. The cardboard tokens you get to use are actually real nice. I've had more than a few games where the cardboard rips a bit when you're trying to punch out tokens, but no problems with that here. This stuff is bonza. Cards you play with are also pretty decent, but nothing amazing. Sorry if these ones are a tad shiny on camera. I chucked them in sleeves. They don't come like that, I just try to keep my games tip top. The only thing I feel like is a bit of a bum steer are these locations and villain dashboards and this thingamywhatsit. I reckon they're made of the same stuff as the cards, but for something so big, they feel like you're going to accidentally bend them like you got super mutant strength. So don't be a drongo and be careful with them. If you paid extra money on the Kickstarter, you could have cardboard versions of these on the way, but I would have had to fork over upwards 60 of me Aussie dollary dues for that, which is as much as buying a copy of the original Marvel United from a game shop. I reckon that's a bit exy, so yeah, nah, I decided to just stick with what I got. So with the components, you got some good, some okay, and some not so great. With that out of the way, let's move on to why this game might not be such a ripper. So a little bit earlier, I said Mux is a simple game that's easy to get to the table. While that's something that makes the game a cracker, it also might be its biggest weakness. There are times when you look at your cards and you go, yeah, I'm playing this one because it's clearly the best. Doesn't always happen, but it can. And again, the difficulty ain't that high. You ain't going to be racking your brain too much. That said, you can make the game harder by ditching one or both of your wild cards, which let you do anything you want. Means you lose some cards, also some flexibility, and you can turn on the hard mode if you reckon the game's too easy. But if you really want a head scratcher, where you got to think about every decision, deep strategy, you're playing 4D chess and all that junk, Mux ain't it. It's a game you play when you want to smash through something quick or not get too thinky. This doesn't mean you're always going to win the game, because you definitely can lose. So don't go thinking that it's just a walk in the park all the time. This juggernaut fella has proven pretty challenging to take down, especially when we're only playing with 2 characters. You also potentially got an issue in the variety in the game. In this base box, you got 2 villains, 6 heroes, and 2 anti-heroes, who you can play as either a hero or a villain. Though you can't play both in the same game, of course. That'd be right silly. So while you got a few options, that's only 4 possible villains, meaning it might not be too many plays before you figure out how each of them play and work out your game plan how to take them down. So the game might have a limited shelf life. Of course, there's all those Kickstarter bonuses that'll pop up sometime next year with more heroes and villains than you can shake a pool noodle at, but if you're just going to buy this in a store, you ain't going to get all that. So keep that in mind. Now, I've got to be a bit fair here and say that each of the villains does feel pretty different, but again, you only got 4 of them, so Mux ain't going to be pulling an all-nighter when it comes to going the distance. The other thing is the locations. You got 8 of them, and you use 6 for each game. So you're quickly going to know the benefits of each, and you can feel like you're getting more repeats than commercial radio with their cold hard cash promos or Johnny Farnham reunion tours. It ain't going to ruin the game, but you might feel like it wears out its welcome a bit quick, and they probably could have done with being a bit less stingy on these. It doesn't help that 2 of them have an effect that relies on you ditching a card from your hand, and those cards also serve as your health. So unless you've got a way to heal back up, which only a couple of characters do, it's a pretty risky move. In short, while Mux is fun, you may find that it's only going to last in your collection so long before you feel like you're wearing last week's undies and need a change. I'd also be a bit of a jerk if I didn't at least give you all a comparison to the previous Marvel United game. Because I guess some of you are probably wondering, if I own Marvel United, should I get Mux? Or maybe you don't own it and are thinking, should I get Mux or should I get Moo? For what me colourful Aussie dollary dues are worth, I reckon you probably only need one of them. They both play pretty similar, and while they've made some tweaks in Mux, you could quite happily play the original game and I reckon you'd have no issue. Some characters in Mux get a starting hand, where you get one or more special cards that are unique to that character, which is a nice touch. But on the whole, I reckon you're best off just picking whichever one you like the characters more from. If you like Iron Man and Captain America, grab yourself a copy of Moo. But if you like awesome Aussie guys, like that fella who plays Wolverine, as well as, say, Jean Grey and Storm, then get yourself a copy of Mux. Heck, if you find you really love one, you can get the other and mix and match. You might actually get a decent amount of extra variety with that, especially because you're going to get extra locations and villains from the second game. But I reckon you're best off seeing how you get on with one of them before taking the plunge and buying both. I should say that Mux does add the ability for someone to decide, righto, I'm going to be the bad dude today, smack your mutant butts down, and say you got one person versus the others. This does change up the mix a bit, and it gives heroes and villains extra superpowers, which can make it a bit more thinky than normal, but it ain't turning Mux into a brand new game. It's just adding some gravy onto the potatoes, well, maybe the hot chips, this game is. So that's something that Mux has got that the first game doesn't. If you've got a group where you need to play 5, or someone loves to play a villain, then that might sway you to Mux. All in all, Mux is a pretty solid game. It ain't going to rock your world, but it's going to provide you with a fun and quick co-op that you can enjoy with pretty much anyone except that mate who is obsessed with games that are all about
victory points.
I'd say Mux is a solid 6.5 out of 10. I only own a couple of co-op games, so I reckon this one is going to stick around to fit that gap in me collection. Thanks for watching me review. Now I reckon it's time to play some games.